The sparrow calls at midnight. Bob is late to work. The bread is on the shelf. Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. Communications. Underground communications. An important part of preparedness. A lot of people talk about communications. They talk about ham radios, FRS, GMRS, different things like that. Very important. Very important to have these things. Before I get into the video though, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe, hit that thumbs up, share the videos, comment below. Let me know what you think. Converse with each other. Talk about this topic, communications in SHTF. No matter what happens or how it happens, we have to have communications. Without communications, you won't know what's going on in the world. You won't be able to communicate with your tribe. You won't be able to get help. You won't be able to gather intel. You won't be able to alert others that need to know things. This is important. I already talked about the different methods. There's also CB radios. You can use that. These are unencrypted, though. You got to understand. Other people can hear what you're saying. Thus, Bob is late to work. The rooster is on the roof. 3 candles. I lit 3 candles at noon. These different things. What am I talking about? I'm talking about code. There's a lot of stuff out there. You can learn how to do all different kinds of things. One-time pads, and a lot of different things you can set up for clandestine communications. Your ability to communicate without anybody else knowing what you're talking about. That is going to be vital because people will be listening in on what you're talking about. It's not just about having the comms, it's about having an effective way to communicate. You need to establish within your group, your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, you need to assign names to different things. There's a lot of different things to talk about. There's rally points. Where are we going to meet up? That's a good one, right? You need to know where to meet up. You need to have these predetermined prior to anything going down, like now, like yesterday. Because if you don't have a rally point, a safe place to meet, to gather, to tribe up, then what are you going to do? You can have a tribe. Well, if you don't have a place to meet, there's no point in having a tribe. People don't know what's going on, where, when, stuff like that. So rally point alpha could be Fox or something like that, you know. You could also just use alpha, Bravo, Charlie for your different rally points because whoever's listening in doesn't know where they are in the first off. Then you can establish other code words for other things. Each person could have their code word, call sign kind of thing. Meet bucket at alpha. That could be meeting a person at rally point alpha. The thing is you need to sit down as a group, as a family, whatever it is, whoever you're going to be communicating with, and establish these SOPs prior to an event so that you're able to communicate with each other and know where to go, when to go. You can have, you know, the clock. You can have all 24 hours made up with code words. I would recommend your most important code words, don't write them down so that nobody else can find them. You can have them written down, keep them in your plate carrier, chest rig, whatever it is like that, or in your wallet, you know, something like that. But I mean, because if somebody finds it, you know, it's still not really necessarily going to mean anything to them because you're not going to say, you know, like you're not going to write down alpha equals rally point alpha, which equals this location. You're not going to do that because you're going to know the locations. Also, routes to and from meetup points is important to name them. And different people are coming from different areas though, but you could establish so somebody could tell you if a route is unpassable or untenable. You're not able to get through. These kind of things, a lot more to SOPs you need to build in as a group, whether it's your family, your neighborhood, your tribe, whatever it may be. But having ways to communicate is going to be vital. There's a lot to it. Like I said, you can establish words for whatever it is you feel the need for. The important part is that you get it down now. I'm going to talk about some other stuff too, so I know I'm kind of like meandering on right now, but stay tuned. We're going to talk about some stuff. But first, I want to mention that I have a Patreon channel. Links in the description below. It's $1 a month. Tons of exclusive content there. We talk about a lot of different things. Talk about different projects I'm working on, different builds of tools, gear setups, gardening, general preparedness, some medical stuff. We throw in a lot of stuff there. So check us out on Patreon. Yeah, and saying you don't have $1 a month, that's just an excuse. We all have $1 a month. If you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Just don't make excuses. Excuses are worthless. Just do what you feel necessary. Okay, so the communications. Now, let's talk a little bit about other communications, or the different types I talked about. Okay, I'll start off with the least effective and move my way to probably the most effective. All right, the least effective would be FRS. That is the Family Radio System, I believe is what it stands for. It's obviously unencrypted, low power, very short range. But people think, oh, well, that's just worthless then. No, not necessarily. Some things you want to have short range. Why? Because people listening in. The further you transmit, the more likely somebody's going to listen in, hear what they want to hear, and or triangulate your position, depending on the situation. FRS radios would be great for inter-team communications because they have a very limited range, depending on where you are. If you're out in the middle of a flat desert or maybe Kansas, maybe you would transmit a lot further than you're aware of. So you need to know the boundaries of your communication systems and how far they transmit in your AO. Here it is lots of hills. The mountains are fairly close, lots of trees, lots of topography, like I said. So I know where and how far my different communication systems transmit. That's important to know. Under different situations also, different weather conditions, etc. All right, so let's move on. That's FRS. So that's where you can buy those at Walmart. The little kids walkie-talkies, that's what those work off of. You can get good quality ones, though. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them at like Sportsman's Warehouse, Cabela's, Bass Pro, any sporting goods store like that, or hunting, camping, supplies. You can find them at places like that. They're the least expensive of the group. The next step up would be GMRS. I forget what it stands for. You need a license to operate it, but it's just a one-time fee. I believe it's just a one-time, like a lifetime fee, and it's not very much. I think it's like $20 or under, and there's no tests involved. You don't have to study for it like you do for a ham radio. And the good thing about that is they're more powerful. They have more frequency ranges, but then again, you may not want that extra power. So think about that. But having options is always a good thing also. You want short-range communications and long-range communications, which brings me to the next one. What's the next one? The next one will be ham radio. Or actually, I didn't mention CB would be probably right there, maybe below GMRS or above GMRS, depending on your power levels, whether it's a base station or a vehicle mounted, or if you cranked up the power, or antenna size, antenna height, stuff like that. So that depends. CB could be in there somewhere also. There's also handheld CBs that you could use for inter-team communications because it's short range and low powered. Okay, so let's move on to ham radio. Ham radio, you got to study for the license. You got to get the license, all that stuff like that. If you don't want to get the license and you feel that, okay, in SHTF, without rule of law, it doesn't really matter if we have a license or not. Nobody's going to be out there trying to triangulate and find our signals. Okay, that's true, and that's fine. But if you go through and you earn your license, you get your license, then you can practice. Like I always say, get out and use your gear. That's one reason why you should have a ham radio license, is because then you can start practicing now without getting in trouble. You don't want to you don't want to end up in jail now. You don't want to be in jail when the SHTF happens, right? So you gotta stay above board right now. And ham radios, I mean, you got handheld ham radios, you got base stations, you got vehicle mounted. There's a lot of different options. Antenna length, power requirements, your license level. You can crank it up there and talk all around the world, depending on where you are. You know, if you go up on the top of a mountain and you have a big antenna array and you got a lot of output power, you could talk to somewhere all around the world. Australia, from here in the United States, New Zealand, Japan. People do it all the time. It's a fun hobby to get into, but it's also realistic in the world of preparedness. So those are the primarily main ways of communicating. But I also want to talk about an alternate way of communicating that is not as quick, but maybe more effective under different situations, and that is drop boxes or drop pads, whatever you want to call it. You can have a location, say at your rally points. It's a really good thing to have, and use these things in conjunction with each other. Don't just say, oh, okay, we have some form of communication, so we don't need this. It's a good thing. Get one of those plastic ammo containers at Walmart that has a rubber seal on it. It's waterproof. Throw a Write in the Rain notebook in there, Write in the Rain pen, and maybe even like a couple ration bars. Throw an MRE in there, or a bottle of water or something, whatever you can fit in there, just so somebody has something. But at least throw in the notebook and the pen. So then, if what happens goes down and you're starting to rally, you're starting to gather, say the first people that got there, they grouped up, maybe they had enough people where they figured, okay, well, let's move on to the next rally point or to a bug out location or whatever it is, and we have enough people and there should be enough people behind us so that we will go ahead and go, so that we can establish security and stuff like that and verify the routes. That may be the situation. So what you do is you write in the notebook, continued, so-and-so, bucket, pool, blackbird, and potato went on to Bravo. Or they went to Charlie because Bravo is no-go. Continue on to Charlie, or etc. via route Delta, whatever it may be. And they also can tell you what they learned en route to there. They can tell you which routes may be shut down, may be unpassable. They can tell you, even if what I would do is your note drop box, don't put it at the rally point. Put it a little ways away from the rally point, so that what happens is, if, say, there's a bunch of people at the rally point, or there's something you don't want to come in contact with, yes, baby girl, you can.
I can?
Yes.
Okay.
Then what you can do is the first people there may get to the note drop and then slowly, tactically approach the rally point and see, oh, there's trouble there. We don't want to go there, so we got to warn others. So then you can write in there, Alpha compromised, continue to Bravo, whatever it may be. This is all a system of communication. So it's really good to have something like that. Everybody needs to know where it's at. You can bury it, you can hide it in the bushes, whatever it may be. You figure it out, what works for your area and how you can do this whole thing. That's an inexpensive way. And what I would do, if you have to leave home and if you're in an SHTF scenario and you're going to group up, I would leave your cell phones at your house, because they can be tracked. Depending on what the situation is. It's an EMP and they're already dead, who cares? I would still just leave them behind. There's no reason to bring that tracking device with you. And or anything else, smart watches, anything that could give away your location, just leave it behind. Or if you're at home and you're bugging in, then take them somewhere and drop them off. Put them somewhere else so they don't know where you are. That's a good thing. Anyway, this is kind of just a surface skim on communications stuff. I'm not a communications expert, but I believe this is some good advice and some things to think about for you guys. So yeah, take charge of your own group and make things like this happen so that you can communicate effectively. You're going to have to work together. You're going to have to learn to communicate. Shoot, move, communicate, right? Well, the moving and communicating are an important part of this. So anyway, I love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and blessings to you and yours.